Imagine what the place is going to look like, and then when you get there, see what the place looks like and see how far off you are. That's a really good exercise of your imagination is controlling so much of what you expect, your expectations.
I don't really know if that's ever going to change. I remember I used to dial it down, but now should I dial it down? Is that bad for the world? Like, is it bad? What if I'm supposed to be that? And so that's my answer, is what was true 5 years ago and what it will be true from 5 years from now. I'm always, always, always going to be future oriented.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, a very deep one, yesterday's episode, number 1544, What Does Your Inner Child Need to Hear? Today, for episode number 1545, What's Always Been True About You? Alan has been reading a book. That is where this thought came from. And as of recording this episode last night, so recording this on Friday, it's dropping Saturday. Last night was Thursday. We had our 24th monthly meetup. And one of the questions we asked the audience was, what was true about you 5 years ago that will be true about you 5 years from today? And we answered in the chat, and everybody in the audience answered in the chat. And mine was, I truly believe I only deserve what I work for. 5 years ago, I believe that. 15 years ago, I like to think I believe that. That's something that's always been relatively true. Now, was I maybe entitled at times when it came to jobs and thinking I should make more money just because I wanted to? Maybe. But if you sat me down and got me all the way to the awareness level that I was at, I probably would have said I deserve what I work for. And that was the first ever self-improvement piece of content I ever did, at least in video form, was a video on Facebook where I said, I think the hook was, do you deserve to be happy? And I really believe that if you work for it and you do the things necessary and you grow and you evolve, just like we talked about in last night's episode, I am happier than I've ever been. I mean, on the day-to-day, it's a struggle. But I think one of the reasons I have the opportunity to have the level of happiness I do, it's because I've worked very diligently on myself. My internal stuff, the external stuff, traumas, triggers, limiting beliefs, fears, and all that. So that video I did on Facebook in 2016, maybe 2015, it was, you deserve what you work for. Now, obviously, you can take that too far. Do you deserve a roof over your head? I would like to think we all do. Right? But the roof over our head is going to change depending on how much we work for the roof over our head. So I don't want to blanket statement it, but that is something that I believe. So Alan, I'm going to kick it to you because you wanted to do this episode. And as you can hear, I am slightly under the weather, so please ignore or don't mind me leaking out of my nose during this episode.
Two things. One, I want to say that I was watching that Facebook Live that you did back in 2015, 2016.
World class.
And I remember BEFD, Better Every Effing Day, was Kevin's brand at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. Yes. And so you never know who's watching. And hindsight is 2020, so it's very clear now that, I was watching stuff from Kev that he was putting out there that was hyper-conscious and, personal development-esque. And then he was watching my content long before we partnered up, back when I was doing fitness and mindset and all that. So who knew, right? You never know who's watching. That's a kind of a little side lesson. This episode This episode, I'm reading a book right now, and when I find a good book, I am the happiest person in the whole world. I can't put this thing down. This is devastating to my productivity. It's called Same as Ever by Morgan Housel. And he wrote another book called The Psychology of Money that Kevin and I have both read. It's actually the book I was reading, by the way, during that marathon that I did. And about halfway through the marathon, I had to shut that off because it was just survival at that point. But anyways, Same as Ever, A Guide to What Never Changes by Morgan Housel. And there's an infinity symbol on the cover. It's written in pencil. It's such a cool, it's like it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. In other words, we talked in the event yesterday about how certain things come and go. Certain things change. Certain things are up, then they're down, they're left, then they're right. Clubhouse, for example, is something that was really big for a time and then it fizzled out. There's fads everywhere all around us. But if you are constantly chasing these shiny objects, and shiny object syndrome is kind of one of the things that we talked about in the meetup yesterday, you're going to constantly derail yourself from what is true and what is fundamental and what will always be true. And this book is just a beautiful, scientific, artful, unbelievable breakdown of human and worldly truths. And I just am obsessed with it. It's so good. It's quickly becoming, I said top 10, now I'm thinking top 5, which is a big deal. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about in this episode is this idea of, I remember I was on a walk with Emilia and I asked her this question. It's one of my favorite questions. What is an empowering belief that has disguised itself? No, what is a disempowering belief that has disguised itself as empowering? Because here's the thing. I break down, if you're listening to this show, we've talked a lot about fixed mindset versus growth mindset. A fixed mindset is someone who believes their talent is stagnant. You can't change it. You can't change yourself. Obviously, if you believe unconsciously or consciously or subconsciously that you can't change who you are or improve who you are, I should say, you obviously wouldn't be listening to this show. But there's these different mindsets. I call it super fixed, growth, and super growth. And it's like a spectrum. And I would argue that we're on the super growth mindset, meaning we believe that pretty much anything we want to change and improve, we kind of can, within reason. But here's the problem. I've found as I coach certain people at all these different levels, right? Some people are at the beginning of their growth journey. Some people are at the 10 years in. Some people are 20 years into their growth journey. And for Emilia in particular, she's been doing personal growth since she was very, very, very young. She found personal growth way sooner than I did, and that's very, very clear, particularly the inner work, which we talked about on the last episode. But what I've noticed is that her seemingly empowering beliefs are actually limiting her now at this point. So for example, here's an empowering belief. You can change anything you want about yourself. That's empowering at the start. But what if you spend your life trying to change something about yourself that never should have changed? What if you don't like spicy food? This is my example. I hate spicy food. I always have, and I think I always will. What was true about me 5 years ago is I hated spicy food. I remember in college, I couldn't stand it. My roommates loved spicy food, and they always got buffalo. And I couldn't eat with them. It was so annoying, honestly. I was the only one who wasn't obsessed with spicy food. So I would always have to make my own meals and do all that. And they would always forget, like, oh yeah, that's right, you don't like spicy food. No, I hate it. Please stop, right? Okay, so what was true about you 5 years ago that you know is going to be true in 5 years from now? Now, the growth mindset people among us would say, well, there's a way that you can change your taste buds through epigenetics, and you actually could train your brain to like spicy food. I tried that for so long. Everyone out there think about something that they know is true about themselves, but they keep denying it. So for me, I know I don't like spicy food, but every now and then, Emilia will be like, let's get buffalo chicken. And I'll be like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Maybe I'll like it this time. Maybe this time I'll like buffalo chicken. Alan, you're never going to like buffalo chicken. You never have, and you never will. Stop experimenting. Experimenting is usually a positive thing. But at some point, you wake up and you realize, you know what? There's certain things about me that I don't even want to change. There's certain things about me that I don't even know if I could. And it sounds limiting. When in reality, it's actually empowering to actually own who you are. So I think what happens, we're born into this world. We're conditioned to be a certain way. We have a true nature, which is who we really are. And then we're conditioned by our parents and our culture and our upbringing in society to like certain things and dislike certain things, right? Do you like blondes because your mom and sister were blonde? My mom and sister were blonde, so I had a thing for blondes. I don't know if that's connected. Maybe, maybe not. I ended up with a brunette. The point is everything about us, some of it's conditioned and society and culture and upbringing, and some of it is who you truly are. And how do we know which is which? How do we know which is which? I think that these questions will help you understand who you really are. And I think it will help you lean into it. Because at the beginning of my personal growth journey, and Kevin can attest to this, we used to do this whole thing where it's like, well, Kev, you can totally work as hard as me if you want to. You could do it. You could get to the point, and you can definitely work harder than you were working. But will you ever get to the point where you love work as much as I do?
I don't think so.
Right. And at what point is it empowering for you to own that? And will I ever get to a point where I want to relax as much as you do?
I don't think
I can already tell you there's no chance. There's no chance. I have to go out of my way to give myself permission to actually R&R. What if that's something that's always been true? And what if that's something that always will be true? And what if we spend some of our life and our time and our effort and our energy trying to change things that we shouldn't, rather than have the courage to be who you are and be the best version of that? That is what this episode is about.
My sinuses, my right sinus, I have that you kind of need to sneeze, that feeling of you need to sneeze, but I don't have to sneeze. That's why my right eye just keeps like shutting. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it's not a pretty look for me, but just know that I'm here and I'm getting after it. What are a few things about you that have always been true and you expect to be true into the future?
One is focusing on a bigger, better, brighter future. Kev, way back in hyperconscious days, Kevin and I used to interview people. We've interviewed hundreds of people. I don't know the exact number. I wish I did, but it's over 100. And we, at the end of every interview at the beginning, we used to ask one question each. Mm-hmm. Your question is, what do you want to accomplish before you die?
Yes.
And my question was, we grow, we evolve, we adapt, we change. But what about you've never changed? And that's what this episode is. So I've been thinking a lot about this for a long time. The focus on the bigger, better, brighter future, goals and dreams, whether it was video games or it was snowboarding or it was maybe one day being president or it was being a doctor and a lawyer or maybe it was being an engineer and a CEO, I always had huge goals. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why exactly. I just always thought about the future more than everyone else. And we did a meetup yesterday, and time perspective was one of the points, and it was the 3 things holding you back from success. And I got really insecure. So if you were at that meetup, I just want to say thank you for hanging in with me, because I was super insecure, because I don't think I've ever, even as a kid, I was always dreaming about the future. At 11 years old, I was talking about starting a company called Lazaros, Musket, the American Revolution. We're going to start a video game company. And I've never not been that way. And for me, it's unthinkable to not know what the next 5 years are going to look like. I've never, ever like woken up and not known what my career would be, you know? And now obviously it changes because my vision changes and my awareness changes and the nuances change. But the idea of looking into the future 24/7, 365, to figure out what to do now and to think 12, 15, 20 chess moves ahead, that's always been the case. And what comes with that is awesome. I get to succeed. I get to achieve a lot of my dreams. The way I look right now, the work we're doing right now is a dream. That at one point was just a dream. But here's the downside. It's very unrelatable. People are like, can't you just relax? You know, you're very intense. You're very focused. I don't really know if that's ever going to change. I remember I used to dial it down, but now should I dial it down? Is that bad for the world? Like, is it bad? What if I'm supposed to be that? And so that's my answer, is what was true 5 years ago and what it will be true from 5 years from now. I'm always, always, always going to be future oriented. If you've ever had a conversation with me where I was not drinking or was not doing any drugs, then it was about the future, most likely. There was parts of it that were about the future. And I don't know if that's unique to me. I think it is. I think some of the population tends to be more future-oriented. But that's one for sure that jumps off the page.
I'm very much the opposite, and I'm having this realization when you're talking, where I like to be put into a room and I'm only a certain type of person in that room. If that makes any sense. There was a time where you and I were podcasting and coaching and speaking and self-improvement, But I would hang out with some of my friends that rap, and we would just smoke weed and rap. And I don't know how to explain it. It was like nice for me to turn off the self-improvement part and just focus on that one thing. And when I'm at jiu-jitsu, I just focus on that. I'm not thinking about almost anything else. And I'm just having this realization now that I think I've always been that type of person where when I'm doing something, I'm just focused on that something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm probably taking lessons and I'm using a growth mindset, but there's a piece of me that longs to be surrounded by people who value like the big three that I value. Self-improvement, I have plenty of that with you, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Rapping.
Makes sense.
Martial arts, and cars. And it's almost, this is an interesting thing. The more time I spend with you, the less I get in the other two or three, but the more I get in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? Interesting, there it is.
But then you'll get the more time you spend in self-improvement, the more you can do those other ones.
That's the thing that's really starting to highlight for me now is because I've spent so long doing this every day, now I get to go back to jiu-jitsu because I can actually afford it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have the time freedom, quote unquote, to be able to do it. Not really, and I have a different mindset about it than I used to. It's different now. It's not what it was when I was 18 where I just wanted to win every time. It's more, I'm trying to take the lessons and I'm trying to use everything I've learned over however many years we've been doing this. So that's a realization for me. I don't know if that's ever really changed.
Probably not.
I don't think
it probably never will. That's kind of the point of this episode.
Yeah, I don't know if I wanted to, because I think I tried that for the first however many, maybe for the first couple of years I probably tried that. Mm-hmm. And then it didn't feel like me, to your point. I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to do.
Hey everybody, my name is Bianca and I am the co-founder and COO of Evolve Ventures Technologies. The only reason I'm able to do the things that I'm able to do today is because of the guidance that Alan gave and how much he never gave up on me, even when I wanted to. If you are looking for a coach, if you're looking for a mentor, there is no one better than Alan. There's nobody who's done more research. There's nobody who's put in more effort than him. He will go above and beyond to make sure that you become everything you've ever dreamed of. And I'm the proof. Alan, you changed my life and I will forever be grateful for you.
Well, there's the weird thing. Because we all live in, this is why duality is the most important thing. Like, you have to understand duality. Duality is holding two seemingly opposing ideas in your consciousness simultaneously. So if you believe you can't change who you are literally, okay, well, all the results you have right now, you might as well just rest on this, because, I mean, in order for us to achieve our goals, we have to improve. Kevin always behind the scenes, he's like, I'm going to ask you a business question. If we want to achieve our goals in 2024, what do we have to do? And you can't say,
just get better.
Just get better at everything we're already doing. I'm like, Kev, there is no other answer. There is no other answer. We just have to do everything we're already doing 1% better every single day. And because we're already doing most of the right stuff. Obviously, there's probably a couple things we're jeffing, and in 5 years from now, I'll be like, oh, that was a mistake, and that was a mistake, and that was a mistake, and luckily we did this, and luckily we did this, and luckily we did this. But at the end of the day, the duality that everyone must hold, hopefully all the listeners are thinking of this as well, I cannot change who I am at my core, but I can change almost everything around it and almost everything that I want for my future. And here's the thing, the moment, this is my hardest part of coaching, so I want to really bring people in on this. Here's my hardest part in coaching. People who come to me and want to achieve things that are not conducive to who they want to be. I jokingly, but not really joking, I will work every day for the rest of my life. I know that that's weird, okay? It's okay, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying you have to do that. What I'm saying is I'm going to. I want to. Now, that doesn't mean I want to every second of every day, but right now, in this moment, that's my intention. And I told Emilia, She's like, well, every day? And I said, well, yeah, but Thanksgiving, I'll give you an example. I woke up, I did an 1.5-hour jam session in my office. I got all my stuff done. And then the whole rest of the day was for Thanksgiving. I don't mean all day, every day. Definitely not. I went to the movies on Wednesday. Okay. But I'm never going to not work. I'm never going to not like have at least a jam session where I get my stuff done. Okay. That is unique to me. That is the life I want to live. That is who I am. I have people come to me, Kev, and they want goals. They have these big goals. And there's this part of me that's like, that's not congruent with who you want to be. If Kevin were to say, no, I'm not trying to be unkind with this, so please don't take this the wrong way. Not you, Kev, but anyone listening. If Kevin wanted to achieve, the goals that we have set out, and he didn't have me in his corner, he would not like the life that would be required of him to actually achieve those things.
100%.
And so you'd have to sacrifice a piece of who you are. You wouldn't be able to rap and do jujitsu and all that stuff. The reason why you can do that is because I'm willing to make sure everything's on the rails and run the business while you're doing those things. That's all fine. And I get to go to the movies on a Wednesday too while Kevin's taking care of stuff. So I get it. But I just want our listeners to really check in with who they are and make sure that the goals you set are congruent with that. It's so important, because if you want level 10 goals, to Kevin's original point where he opened this episode, you are going to need to also want level 10 work ethic. And if you don't want level 10 work ethic, and level 10 work ethic is not conducive to who you actually are at your core. I know some people that are not super hardworking, and maybe that's okay for them. Some of them are super happy. It's like, I don't know how, because if I was you, I wouldn't be happy. But if they were me, they wouldn't be happy. They would hate their life if they were me, right? So that's my main goal here is, what about you never changed? What about you's never going to change? And design your life around that. Whatever you are, be a great one. Whatever you are, be the best one. Don't try to be the best Kevin or the best Alan. Try to be the best you, because everything else is going to be deeply unfulfilling.
I had a conversation with a client the other day, and I said, I don't know what's worse. And this was a genuine, let's talk about it. I don't know what's worse. Thinking you want a certain result, thinking you want a certain lifestyle, thinking you want a certain blank and never getting it, or thinking you want a certain lifestyle, thinking you want a certain result, thinking you want a certain blank, getting it, and then realizing it's not what you wanted. I don't know which of those is better or worse.
Well, you've done both.
Well,
prior to the 6 figures,
yeah,
you thought money was going to solve everything. Can you talk a little bit about that? You've done both of those.
I think it depends, because yes, I thought money was going to solve all of my problems, and it definitely didn't. It solved my financial problems for sure, and some circumstantial stuff. But I think it depends on how do you react when you hit what feels like a dead end. Because after I did that, I went very internal, and it's like, oh, I want to be hyper conscious. I want to be acutely aware of why I'm doing everything I'm doing. So I think it depends. I think it depends on the person.
I think it's evolution. The step one is want something that you'll never get, or maybe haven't gotten yet. Yeah, step two is get the thing you thought you wanted, and realize that it isn't it. And then step 3 is evolution. So Kevin thought money would solve his problems, never had money growing up, had some, but not a lot. Thought money was going to solve all his problems, went for it, went all in on it, sacrificed everything else for it, got 6 figures, had more than enough money, and realized that was not it. And I did a similar process too.
Yep.
And then after that, it's like, well, now what? And you struggled with suicidal ideation. I think that's one of the reasons, because everything you thought was going to solve your problems didn't.
Well, that's a big piece of it.
Right. Yeah. And so I think, and here's the philosophical question. Would you have ever shot for 6 figures if you didn't think it would be it?
No, definitely not.
No. And if you didn't shoot for it, would you ever gotten it and realized it wasn't?
That is the
and would
paradox.
We be here right now?
That is the paradox. But now it's different, where money does solve a lot of problems, because a lot of my problems aren't internal anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. It really is a journey where I used to say, I remember this, I would hear people, it would be like, if you sink the half-court shot at the basketball game, you win $100,000. And when I was younger, I was like, that's no money. $100,000, like, I don't even care. That's not that big of a deal. It wouldn't change my life. In reality, it's not going to change your life. It'll change the year in a couple years, especially if you live, let's just say if you live in the U.S. $100,000 is a good amount of money, but it goes away pretty quickly. Now, if you said if you sink a half-court shot, it's going to be $100,000, I would be over the moon. But it's different. It's not because I need the money and I think it's going to change my life. It would just be nice to put that in the bank and say, awesome. Now there's an extra $100,000 there. Because
you
realize
also
what
are
it
more
does.
aware of what to. Yeah, exactly.
I realize what it does. So I don't know. I think we all have our own unique journeys, and some of us are going to set a goal, and eventually we're going to get to that goal, and you're going to say, well, this isn't it. I want to set a bigger goal. Or maybe you'll say, this is it. I'm so grateful I got here. This is perfectly aligned, or this is the most aligned it's ever been. I don't know if there's any such thing as perfect. Or you might say, honestly, I'm grateful I got here to see what the view was like from the top of this mountain, but I don't want to stay on this mountain. It's too much. I don't know if I want to continue doing what is necessary for me to stay here. I don't know if any of those answers are wrong. I think the only wrong answer is to do the one that's not right for you.
100%.
Is what I would say. So I had somebody recently say, I want to be where you are 5 years from today as a podcast. And I said, I hope you get there. More than anything, I hope when you get there, you want to stay there. Yeah. Because it's probably different. It's probably different than you think. Marriage is different than I thought. Having a business partner is different than I thought. Having a business is different than I thought.
Is there anything that isn't different than you thought?
I don't know if there can be, because your ability to think of what something is based on your awareness of what that something is. Next time you're getting ready to go somewhere, I love this exercise. Imagine what the place is going to look like, and then when you get there, see what the place looks like and see how far off you are. That's a really good exercise of your imagination is controlling so much of what you expect, your expectations.
Yeah. To wrap this up, because I know we gotta jump. I hope that everyone leaves this episode at least asking the question of what was true about me 5 years ago, and what am I certain will be true 5 years from now. I think 10 years is probably a little too long to remember, or to project into the future. I think 5 is a good sweet spot, because what was true about me a month ago and will definitely be true a month from now, it's like I'm into sushi right now or whatever. I've loved sushi since college. So all of us, the foods you eat, the people you spend time with. Here's another thing. I've always loved learning. That's never not going to be true. I've always loved getting better at things. That's never not going to be true. We had someone in the chat last night on the meetup that said, I've always loved empowering others. Design your life around that. Do you know how awesome your life could be if you became a coach? That's all you do as a coach. You're just constantly empowering everybody. What if someone, their number one thing, their thing that's never going to change about them is that they want to empower others, and then they again, there's nothing bad about this. They want to empower others. They want to coach others. They want to inspire others. They want to motivate others. They want to personally develop other people. And that's their thing. It's always been a thing. It's always going to be a thing. And then they work at, I don't know, they farm or something, or they garden. Can you imagine? I'm not even kidding. This is going to be funny, hopefully, for anyone who does kind of know me. Imagine me gardening. It's not who I'm supposed to be. It's nothing against gardeners. It's nothing against farmers. It's nothing against anyone. It's not who I'm supposed to be.
Well, just like you wouldn't be if somebody said, imagine me podcasting. Not me, but them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not what you're supposed to. Yeah, no, I would never put that on you, and I would never be offended if it wasn't for you, because I know it's not for a lot of people, just like farming's not for a lot of people.
Exactly. But behind a spreadsheet, I'm at home. Crunching numbers, I'm at home. It's who I am. It's who I've always been. So I hope that that's what comes through. That's my next level nugget is, whatever you are, be a great one. Ask yourself these questions and see what about you has never changed and never is going to change. And maybe you're in a relationship with someone who hates that part of you or dislikes that part of you or doesn't respect and admire that part of you. If that's a part of you that's never going to change, there's your answer. Mm-hmm. I remember I was with someone who did not like that I was into personal growth. They didn't like that I was hardworking. They didn't like that I had huge goals, and they didn't like that I wanted to work all the time. And very, very last thing, I promise. I was in the car driving home with a friend of mine, and he said, Alan, I think you're in trouble. I said, what do you mean? He said, I noticed that your girlfriend doesn't really like philosophy, and she doesn't really like it when you talk a lot. And dude, you talk a lot. And I was like, oh no. He's like, I don't think that's going to work, man. Because think about all we do is philosophize. All we do is talk about goals and dreams and future, and she doesn't like it. And I was like, oh no. Can you imagine if you didn't like this? I would be such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here.
Exactly, you wouldn't be here. And so I had to make a hard decision, and I had to leave that person. So just be very, very truthful with yourself and honest with yourself when you ask these questions.
Heavy episodes this week. Well, towards the end of the week. I told Alan yesterday, after we did the what does your inner child need to hear, I said, these are the type of episodes I'm supposed to be doing. I love these. I absolutely love these episodes. So even to the theme of this episode, you might hear someone being super vulnerable and say, that ain't for me. You might hear somebody being super vulnerable and say, wow, I want more of that. You might hear that and say, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. It really is up to you at the end of the day. And this is why success is so hard, because success is so personal. Everything is different. Everything's different. That's why giving advice is so hard, because the advice that I give to myself shouldn't be the advice I'd give to Alan, or at least I can't expect it to land the same way. So I guess all of that before we talk about tomorrow's episode is my next level nugget. Next Level Nation, if you are looking for a group of like-minded individuals, growth-minded individuals, vulnerable humans who value being authentic, please join our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation. The link will be in the show notes as always.
Whatever you are, be a good one. My EA, Jerry Ann, has that on her wall. I love it. I've adapted it to whatever you are, be a great one. But if you do want to be a great one, there are certain fundamental habits that will help you unlock whatever you are. It will amplify what that is, the good that is that. Brendan Burchard wrote a book called High Performance Habits. He calls them the HP6, and we have a book club every single week, Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we go through these chapters one by one. If you'd like to join us, the link will be in the show notes, and you'll get a 360-degree full circle, sort of holistic perspective on the book, because we all talk about it and everybody shares. Not everybody. Most people share. And again, you don't have to. There's some people that just listen in. So you're not required to share, but if you want to get a lot of perspectives on the same principles, that's the place.
Tomorrow for episode number 1546, one big thing that holds us back from starting. Starting is the hardest part for some of us. For other people, it's the easiest part. And then continuing the journey is the hard part. So we're going to talk about one big thing that holds us back from actually starting something, and it's probably different than you would guess. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
What about you? Never changed. Next Level Nation.